Hey all, I'm Andre. Welcome to Cloud and Sec. In this video, I'm talking to the creator of an awesome open source tool for pen testers that graphs out intersections, files, and everything going on behind the Microsoft 365 tenant. It's an amazing tool, and it's something that's been sitting on my post-production for months now. So I'm really appreciative of the speaker, of course, the creator of the tool as well, who's been really kind and, of course, really sharing of his time as well to talk to us about all that. Make sure you check out the description for more information if you're interested, and hope you enjoy. Everyone, thanks so much for joining. In this conversation, I invited an offensive security engineer or security practitioner to talk a little bit about a very cool tool that they created. This is Keanu. Hey, Keanu, nice having you here.
Hey, Andre, thank you. Thanks for having me.
No worries. Yeah, thanks for accepting the invite. I actually saw your LinkedIn post about this tool that you created, GraphSpy, and I think it was one of the identity leads from my region that actually saw it, and they were commenting on it. So that was a very important little comment that they make, that they highlighted to me. So I was quite curious to understand a little bit more about what this tool is, and well, of course, what can you do with it? And I know it's all about Entra and Microsoft 365 identity. Can you talk a little bit about what that tool is?
Yeah, so GraphSpy is an offensive security tool. It's used for penetration testers to perform phishing attacks like device code phishing, but as well as after that you get access to the accounts of the users that you phished. So it makes it a lot easier to do enumeration with the accounts that you got access to. So you can access the emails from the user through Outlook. You can view all their files that they have access to in SharePoint. You can view the user's OneDrive and do a lot of cool stuff. There is also a lot of things that are still planned. So in the future, you will be able to view the Teams messages of the user and even send Teams messages to other users. So it's more a broad toolkit that brings everything together in a convenient web application for penetration testing.
It's a toolkit for exploiting Microsoft 365, is it?
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Exactly.
And you had mentioned that you can even do data exfiltration, right? Some data exfiltration exercises, right? Yeah, that's really exciting. So I believe you prepared a demonstration for us.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So we can run GraphSpy fairly easily like this. So if you don't specify any command line arguments, so just use a default database, and it will tell you to open the actual GUI where you can interact from it. So by going to this location, so I already have it open over here.
And I was reading through the GitHub page, which I'll link in the description later on. This tool is, of course, you're showcasing in Windows, but it can also run on Linux, right?
Yeah, indeed. Actually, most of my tests were in Linux. Cool. Also testing it in Windows, so it's really cross-platform. As long as you can install Python on it, it should work.
Awesome, cool. All right, so this is the UI. Cool.
Yeah, indeed. So this is the settings page. So from here you can create databases. So I was testing with this earlier. So let me just delete this demo database and create a new one.
So a database is a concept where you're going to store all the tokens that you get from one campaign, is it?
Yeah, exactly. So it will store all the information on the campaign you're working on, so all the access tokens, all the device codes, as well as the user agent that you're using. So you can set a custom user agent that will be used for every request that GraphSpy will send in the background.
Cool. Right. So after you create the database, where would you go next?
So by default, you already have a database, but here we started to create a new database. So this one is activated now. So if we would start a real campaign here, if we wanted to get initial access to an account, One of the most powerful techniques that we utilize is device code phishing. So GraphSpy also has that feature. You can go to the device code page over here, and there you can generate what's called a device code. For those that are not aware of how device code authentication works, I will show it later. But basically, first to generate a device code, you have to select a resource. So this is basically the API that you want to interact with later on. It will generate an access token specifically for that resource. So if you just select, for instance, the Graph API, this is a very common endpoint where you can enumerate quite a lot of information.
Yeah.
And then we also need to select a client ID. This one is not that important at this point. However, it will actually matter for in your phishing campaign, because this will actually be the application that will be displayed on the screen later on. So for instance, if our pretext was that we want to convince a user to sign into something like Microsoft Office, we should select the client ID of Microsoft Office. So it already comes pre-populated with a couple of client IDs and resources. You can also select any customer values over here as well.
Sure.
Then we basically just create one. So we've very recently actually added some colors to this as well. So you will see that at this point a new device code is generated. It will be stored in the database over here, and it will be polling. So you will see that every 5 seconds the last poll time will actually change. Just over there. And these device codes are valid for 15 minutes. So you see the time that we generated and when it will expire. What else?
So the device codes are important because they simulate a token that is being captured. Is that right?
So the device codes authentication flow.
Oh, cool.
So the device code
so the wiki contains all the details for it's a documentation for the entire project, right?
Yeah, indeed. I try to keep it as up to date as possible, but
sure.
Because I'm changing a lot of stuff every time, it's a little bit hard to maintain both the code and the wiki at the same time. But I try to put as much information as possible on here actually as well, so that it is very easy to use actually. So the device code authentication, it's an alternative authentication method that not a lot of people will actually be aware of that it exists, because you don't really need it that much as a normal person. But what it basically allows you to do is it allows you to sign in on a different device without having to supply your username and password on that extra device. For instance, this is useful for input constrained devices like a smart TV, like Microsoft notes in their documentation, printers, IoT devices. And all you have to do is enter a code in there. And that code is actually generated from a device where you are already logged in. So let's say you are logged in already on your computer in your account, and you want to log into a different device like your smart TV. You could generate a device code, basically enter that code on your input constrained device, and then do the complete authentication process on the device where you are already signed in or have access to more input devices like a keyboard. So that is basically what we are using in device code phishing.
Got it.
So the code is still polling. So at this point, an attacker basically has 15 minutes to phish the user. So what do they have to do actually? Let's open the window over here, and let's say, just pretend that we are a victim now. We basically have to make the user visit the device login URL. So that's device, that's microsoft.com/device login. Once
Yep.
they join this page, they will see this over here, where they are asked to enter a code. So depending on the pretext, you can make up a story on why they need to enter a code over here.
Yeah. So this is a legit domain, right? You're not spoofing the domain or anything.
No, indeed, that's the power of device code phishing, because you basically let the user sign in to a legitimate Microsoft website
With your code, yeah.
Yeah, indeed. So they are asked for a code over here. So let's just copy that over here. So this is the user code that you can see over here, but there's a copy button to copy that one. So you can just paste that in. You can send that over email, or make the user fill that in over the phone, right? You can just give them instructions to open this web page and fill in this code. Then they click next, and at that point they would be asked to log in. So this is the code that they will see. We see that it notices that we're signing into Microsoft Office.
That's the graph,
that's
or the client ID.
Yeah. The client ID that we selected, right? So we basically have control over this value. And then it's saying that we're logging in from Belgium. So this is actually the location where GraphSpy is running. So in a normal phishing attempt, that would be on another device, of course. But you have to make sure that you're just running GraphSpy from a location in the same country as the victim, right?
Yeah.
Then they would see this. The key part here is that the user is logging in to another device, but usually they just don't read that. They just pick an account, Microsoft Office, Belgium, and then they just select their account. And because it's a legitimate Microsoft website, their account will usually already be signed in. So they don't even have to fill in their password anymore. They can click on that to let them to sign in. And at this point it's done. So at this point the user is already phished actually. So it will say you are signed into Microsoft Office. You may now close this window. And in the background you will see that the status has changed to success. And basically what this did is now we have access to a refresh and access token. So you will see that on the refresh token page that a new entry was added at the time point that the user filled in the device code. You can activate that, save that as the active refresh token. But what's more importantly now is actually the access token, because this is actually the token that will grant us access to the account of the user. You can see that over here. We can see the complete details of the access token as well. So this is the raw access token. It's basically a JWT token, and that is base64 encoded, so you can see all the information that's in there. So in this case, we have a token for Microsoft Office, for the Graph API, graph.microsoft.com API for this specific user. And this is all the privileges that we have in this token, right?
Sure. Yeah. And how do you inject it? Or do you need to inject it? No, right? Because the tool will actually give you access to it, and you can browse the files right from there, right? You don't have to inject it in a browser.
So what you would otherwise have to do is this access token gives you the possibility to interact with an API, right? But that's not really very user-friendly. You would have to send API calls every time to extract a little bit of information each time. But this is where GraphSpy makes it a little bit easier. So you can basically just select which access token that you want to use. So now I've activated this access token. You can see over here that this is active. Also from the sidebar, you can always see your current active access token. If this is green, it means that the access token is still valid. So it will actually expire in 1 hour in this case. And this is the access it provides to this resource. So what we can do now, for instance, with the Graph API, you can do quite a lot already. For instance, I can now go to OneDrive and view all the files that are on the OneDrive of this user. right? So GraphSpy will automatically show this in a convenient table where you can see all the folders of the user. You can download documents directly. So you can, for instance, download this one. Not sure what this is going to be, but you're going to see that we now have access to that. Some sensitive information that we have access to now.
Yeah, so you're extracting data right from the platform. Cool.
You can also always see the complete raw details that are behind that if you're interested in that. So when was it created, where is it stored, and all the metadata of the file as well. So you can open folders as well, just by clicking to it. So this is actually what makes it a lot more convenient. Previously with other tools, you had to send one API request to list the contents of a user's OneDrive. Then you had, if you saw folders, you had to send another API call to view the contents of that folder. Then you had to request the details of a file and get the download URL and fetch all that. But
time consuming.
That's not the easiest way to interact with something like files, right? So it gives you a more explorer-like.
That's amazing. Yeah. So it means that you have full access to all those resources, of course. Potentially everything that the user has access to. Yeah. So that's cool. Go on.
So what else can we do? I'm not sure if this user actually has access to. No, it didn't have access to, because this is a demo tenant. It didn't seem to have access to any recent files yet. Otherwise, it would show the files that the user recently interacted with, and files shared with this user. So this one does actually return some information. So this will show all the files that are shared with this specific specific user. So it works a little bit the same as the OneDrive module, but you can easily download files from here as well.
Yeah.
And then same for SharePoint. So if you want to view all the SharePoint sites this user has access to, you can use the SharePoint module. You can browse. It seems like, okay, so in this case, these are the permissions that I mentioned previously, right? So to list the sites on SharePoint, you need either the sites.read all or sites.read all permissions. And we can see over here that we don't have that. So to request that, you can actually use our refresh token, right? So this is the refresh token that we currently have for the user. And this will allow us to request new access tokens with potentially different scopes, right? So we can once again select the Graph API, because that is what GraphSpy is using to request the SharePoint information. Instead of Microsoft Office, instead of selecting Microsoft Office as the client ID, we can select something else like Microsoft. And if we now look at the details of this token, we should see that the size.read.all is in there. So different client IDs have different permissions on specific APIs.
So you could generate a new refresh token with new accesses right from the tool without needing to get user interaction at all.
Yeah, indeed. So once you fish the user, you have access to this refresh token.
Yeah.
And this refresh token, gives you persistent access for a very long time. So by default, it's valid for 90 days. But this can actually be indefinitely refreshed as well. So the only times where you would lose access at this point is if the user would reset their password. Then what that does is it invalidates all refresh tokens. So we wouldn't be able to generate new access tokens. However, by default, access tokens will not actually be revoked at the time that the user resets their password. So even if the user resets their password at this point, you would still have access to the account of the user for. Yeah, so that is actually very dangerous, of course.
Yes.
Because if an attacker phished you, even if the user sees at this point that something is off, and they go reset their password really quickly, at this point, an attacker could already have generated access tokens for a lot of different resources.
Yeah. there are a few mitigations, right? So the administrator could potentially set a refresh token. What do we call it? As a window time. So reduce that amount of time. You said the default's 90 days, so we could reduce for 1 day, for example. So every day they would have to sign in again, right?
Yeah, for the refresh token, indeed, you can reduce that. You can also reduce the time of the access tokens, I believe. However, there is even a better feature that you can use. That's called continuous access evaluation. And their access tokens can actually be revoked. If the user resets their password, then these access tokens will also not work. But that only works for specific applications, and currently will also not work with the old APIs that we are using over here. So that's probably something in the future, hopefully, when the old OAuth API gets commissioned.
Yeah. And before we continue on with the SharePoint or even Outlook, if we can explore that later on. But of course, these the refresh token that we capture from the user could even bypass MFA, right? Because the user would authenticate with MFA potentially, right? And they would enter the device code, so MFA wouldn't do anything to hinder your attack.
Yeah, you can actually see that in the access tokens that we have over here as well. So you have the specific fields over here that will show actually what authentication methods were used during the authentication. So in this case, password authentication was used, and the access token also has MFA claims, meaning that we can access anything that would require MFA. So you didn't actually see me perform MFA over here, but that was because we already recently signed into this account, and MFA was already approved previously, and this claim stays valid for I'm not really sure how long it stays valid for, but it stays valid for a couple of minutes after you perform MFA. You don't have to do MFA again.
Yeah, fair enough.
Once we activated that access token, we will see that we have the sites.read-write permissions now, and with that we can actually go to the SharePoint module. So now it will actually be able to request all the SharePoint sites, right? So there are 27 of them over here. We can expand that and see all the SharePoint sites in here. So we could open each one of them. Let's say, for instance, the retail one. And here we can see all the drives that are linked to this SharePoint site, right? And we can once again open one of them over here using the link icon versus the documents drive on this retail site. Let's open that one, and now we see all the documents that are in this SharePoint drive on the SharePoint site, right? So in the retail site, in the shared documents folder, you have all of these items over here. And then it basically becomes the same as the OneDrive module, right? So you can open folders, view all the contents over there. You can go back, open this folder, organizational charts. We can download that if that's useful for us, and then we can see what is in there.
Impressive.
And in the future, we will also add additional features where you can upload files, maybe remove files even. So that's also something that's coming.
So tampering with the files.
Yeah, indeed. So, for instance, if you see that the file is used quite a lot by, or opened quite a lot by certain employees, you could maybe download that, add some malware to it, and then re-upload it, for instance.
Great use case. Yeah, very nefarious. And does this token also give us access to their Outlook, or do we have to refresh the token and get a different?
So the Outlook module works a little bit differently. Here we are not going to use the Graph API. I'm actually going to show it to you how you can refresh from the sidebar now. So you can, you don't always have to go to the access tokens page. If you quickly want to refresh, you can do it from here as well. So you can see my current refresh token is over here at the bottom. If you want to quickly generate a different access token, you can select that from the list over here. So now from Outlook, we want to generate a refresh token or an access token for that. Let's click on that, and we can see that our new access token is over here for the Outlook API. So now we basically click here on the set access token. That will basically populate this access token fields below it. So this is the raw access token from Outlook. So this one that's just pasted in there. And then we click on the Open Outlook button, and we fill access to the Outlook of the user. So the reason that we are able to do this and not with something like OneDrive or SharePoint, for instance, is because Outlook uses quite a bit of different authentication process. So if you will see in the source code, actually, you will be able to see what this does. Yeah. So what it basically does is if we look at the source code, it just sends a post request to the outlook.office365.com/our website with the access token in this ID token property. So it basically injects the access token inside the browser by sending this specific post request to the Outlook API, and that will return all the session cookies that we need to actually interact with Outlook, right? So from here we can basically open all the emails of this user. We can reply to emails as well. We can delete emails. We basically have full access to Outlook as this user. We see all the meetings that this user has planned and do something with it like that.
No, that's very, of course, impressive and extremely eye-opening for everyone, of course.
This is indeed also always something fun to show. It shows the impact very, very well, right? If I'm able to fish the account of a high-profile user, it's always fun to include a screenshot of a part of their Outlook in there, and then they can grasp the impact a little bit better than just showing some output from some API calls, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the report looks a lot more dangerous that way. Yeah, for sure. Have you implemented any other features on GraphSpy currently? Because I know that you mentioned a few upcoming features, such as themes, right? But I know that you're working on a lot of stuff as well. But
so currently there are actually some things we can still go over that are currently in there. I am also working on a Teams module. So this is one of my test setups actually. So I will already be able to show a little bit of it. I request an access token for the Skype API. So this is Microsoft Teams, but it still uses the Skype API for some reason. We request an access token for that, and we should be able to see. I don't look at these top ones, but we already see some content of their teams, right? So we see some team spaces they have access to. Currently, I'm still working on retrieving the messages. So this is really very new. I actually just implemented this yesterday or so. So it's still work in progress. But currently, we can just see all the conversations, see the last messages this user had, and see all the raw metadata that's linked to that.
Yeah, I imagine that that'll take a little longer to implement, but that's already very impressive. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, go ahead.
What else do we currently have? So we also have a feature to search for information on with the MS Graph API. So for that, I will have to reselect an access token from the Graph API again. We still have one for the previous one that's still valid. So these are all still valid. So we can select this one, for instance, and
Get
use
active.
that. And now we can do some generic search requests. For instance, we can search any type of entity that we are able to search with the Graph API. So we can search for drives or drive items. So these are the files, folders. We can search messages, all from one single location. So let's select drive item, for instance. And let's say we want to search for anything containing the word password. Let's see if we find anything. Now it will basically fetch all the drive items, so all files from OneDrive, from SharePoint, from any location basically where it can be stored. And it will show the results where this keyword is included, right? So sometimes that can even be images. So now we can download that. Let's see in this image why it got selected. So yeah, you see at the bottom there, it has a keyword password in this image, so it's even able to select to find that.
So that is extremely impressive. So it actually leveraged OCR, optical character recognition from Microsoft Graph.
Yeah, so basically we let Microsoft do the heavy lifting. It already has this feature to search for text and images, and we just basically let it do the work for us and show the results.
Yep. Wow. Yeah, that's extremely impressive. Yeah.
And then, there are also obviously things that are not implemented yet, but sometimes you want to perform some very specific API requests that are currently not easily implemented in GraphSpy just yet. So for that, you can use the custom requests actually, and then you basically can send any custom request that you want. So anything that is possible with a normal API request, you can do that over here. So as an example, so we can basically paste this API in there, and then we can completely customize it. We can add custom headers if we want. We can add variables as well that will be substituted in headers or in the URI or in the body. But for now, it's basically a fairly simple API call. So if we hit request over here, it will use the access token that is currently selected to perform this API request, and it will show you the response below. So this is all the profile information of our current user. So with this, you can do anything that your imagination can think of.
I imagine you'd have a pretty a lot of ideas on how to hack someone like that. That's awesome. It's extremely impressive, Keanu.
I think I covered quite a lot of it. So yeah, maybe in the custom requests we can actually save requests as well. So let's say we don't want to type this out every time. So this is a fairly basic example, but if it's a very complex request with a body and headers, you can actually save that to the template library. Let's say we want to save this as get user profile. You can save that, and now we can see that it's stored in the request templates. You can see information of it over here. And let's say we now request this, we can now just load that request from here and request it whenever we want it.
Yeah, so that's extremely useful if you, of course, if this is your permanent rig, if you will, right? And if you're using that constantly, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, that's cool. It's really good.
Yeah, I think I covered
perfect
almost everything.
All right. That's very impressive work, Keanu. Well, you've done an amazing job, of course, with the help of a lot of other people as I've seen in your GitHub repo. Look, in the description, people will be able to find you on LinkedIn, find GraphSpy GitHub page. I'll make sure to link that up there. But are there any last words you'd like to leave to everyone?
Yeah, I'm just glad that everyone is liking the tool that I created. Currently, it's still a lot of my free time going in there personally. So always open for contributions from the community. If you want to add something to GraphSpy or have a nice feature that you think might be useful, feel free to just open a pull request or an issue on GitHub, and then yeah, we can improve it together.
That's awesome. Yeah, growing as a community. That's awesome. Thanks so much for your work, but also, of course, your time as well, Keanu.
Yeah, thank you as well, Andre.
Cheers. All right, thanks for watching. If you do like this sort of content, please like and subscribe. This helps out a lot. And of course, if you find anything interesting or if you have questions, leave a comment. That also helps out a lot. But also, most importantly, it helps me understand what's top of mind for you. All right, see you around.